Welcome back to the One in a Million channel. My name is Eunice, and I am so glad and so nervous to be doing this one video today. Primarily because today I am talking about my personal money journey, and there's just been so many downs and so many ups as well. And I want to take this opportunity to share my story with you as in the past couple days, I've really been contemplating like how can I share more of my experience and my lessons with you that can benefit you and that can express like some of the lessons that I have learned, some of the lessons that are so valuable that I don't want anyone to have been in my situation to have to learn these lessons. And I believe that what I have to share with you today is not only powerful, but there are so many energetic codes that are embedded in the lesson, in the story, as well as how I am sharing them with you. So just take my heart. I'm allowing myself to speak with my heart today um, and really hear this from my vulnerability, because I believe that the fact that I'm opening up so much to you guys, there is so much magic here. There's something that is very valuable in, someone like sharing their story and their vulnerability, especially for something that happened so recently and something that happened so big, that was emotionally so impactful. So not fast forward, like going back, rewinding a couple of years back in year 2019, I quit my job. I quit my day job and I decided that I was going to become a life coach. So, not having had any experience in building a business online, I decided that what I needed to do was to learn how to build a business. And very quickly, I was purchasing courses. I was learning how to build an online business. I was learning from mentors. And very slowly, my bills, well, actually, my savings started being used up, and I started dipping into my bills. And fast forward a couple of years, decisions after decisions and investments after investments. And, with this whole mentality of like, I just need to keep investing in myself, and I need to keep investing in my growth and spirituality and personal development and all these like different healings that I needed to do in order to become the coach that I wanted to become for my clients. Like all these different things that I felt like I needed to learn super speed um, in a super speed manner made me make the decisions that I did. So looking back at my, in the last couple of years, I saw how I invested really quickly. And, I have also put a lot of hopes and dreams and pressure onto the money that I was putting out there to invest in myself. Like I had this mentality that, if I put more money out there and if I'm more committed in myself, then I would very quickly make this money back very soon. So that was not the case for me, because there were so many things that I needed to work on a personal, spiritual, and emotional level, and I still continue to learn in this day. But fast forward to, this year, last year and this year, these couple of months, I would say, I was withdrawing from my investment account. Like I had no more savings. I was withdrawing from my investment account. And I decided that I was going to stop operating my business in the way that I had, because something just didn't sit right with me. I didn't know what it was, but I just knew that something wasn't working. So then that's when I really started listening to my intuition, because there was a message that kept coming to me that said, Eunice, stop like bulldozing your way into your dreams. You've got to relax, you've got to relinquish control, and there's something else that is out there for you, something else that you had not yet explored. So I dropped my business model that I was working on for the last couple of years. I dropped the connections and I decided that I was just going to do what felt right. And let me tell you, that was the craziest thing I have ever done. Because the moment I stepped away from the picture, I started second guessing myself and wondering like, oh my gosh, was this a really bad decision if I, if I don't show up for a week more or 2 weeks more, people are going to forget about me. I'm going to lose those connections. I'm going to lose those clients. Like my business is going to fall apart. But the moment it started falling apart, I found was when things started to come together. So my clients started coming through different avenues, there was different sources of revenues starting to come trickling in very slowly, just like here and there. And I started to listen to my intuition more, but the magic didn't actually come until last month. I decided that I was going to Hong Kong and I was going to visit my family, and at the same time I was going to settle this credit card bill once and for all. Like 50,000 US dollars worth of credit card bill that I've racked up throughout the last couple of years. I have used my savings, I have used some of my earnings, and also dipped into my investment. And I decided, you know what? This pain of treading, what is it called? Rolling interest or treading interest. It was so much more than my nervous system can bear. Like I just could not bear it anymore. There were times when I would tell myself, I just wouldn't think about it, and I am just going to think about something else. I'm just going to keep my vibrations up. I'm going to keep pursuing my dreams and goals and keep my vision very clear. Thank you so much, KY. I love you. Thank you for being here. I'm just going to keep pursuing my vision. And then there are days where I look at my bill and I look at the interest that I'm paying every month, and I'm like, this just does not make any sense. Like, I cannot keep going like this forever, and it is not sustainable. Like, at some point, I'm going to deplete my investment and all my savings, and I just wouldn't know what to do, and then I'm going to have to ask people for help. And that was not an option for me. So I decided that in my trip to Hong Kong, going back home, I was going to go to the bank, I was going to run errands, and I'm going to make sure that this bill is settled once and for all. So the way that I was strategizing and planning like how this was going to work, like I knew that I had some of my mom's, like late mom's jewelry that I have saved and put aside in my bank safe. And I knew that at some point, if I really, really, really needed it, that I could use it as an asset to liquidate it, and I could, turn it into cash. But I didn't know how. And this whole time, I had not confronted the emotions that come with, selling some of my mom's jewelry. What are people going to think about it? What does that mean? Does it mean that I'm a bad daughter? And all this shame, like, to be honest, I felt a lot of shame in having to go to my late mom's jewelry, all the jewelry that she accumulated all over the years, and having to sell that for money. Can you imagine, like, the blessing? Like, can you imagine, like, how I was experiencing and processing all of this, of all the years my dad was keeping all this jewelry for me, and he hands it to me, it's my wedding, and he gives it to me as a blessing, and also it's also a blessing for my late mom. And here I am thinking about how I'm going to get money out of selling my late mom's jewelry. Can you imagine that kind of heart-wrenching guilt that I was feeling? And I was like, no, I can't go there. But then it seemed like I didn't have any other option. So fast forward to actually having been in Hong Kong, and I actually didn't tell anyone that I had this debt. I didn't tell anyone that I was racking up credit card bills, only myself and my husband knew, and also one of my best friends that, has knows nothing about my history. She knows nothing about my family, but nobody knew. I didn't tell anybody else. And for some reason, when I was talking to my aunt, I had this inkling feeling of just like this comfortable connection with her. Like I was just catching up with her and I had this beautiful connection. And something inside of me, and this is the principle number one that I wanted to share with you. This was a very big shift. The first thing that I experienced in manifesting, the $50,000 settlement in 10 days. The very first thing was I listened to my intuition, finally. Like I finally decided to relinquish this control, and I decided to listen to this little voice in my head that told me it's safe to tell her. It's safe to tell someone. You can unburden yourself with this big secret, with this big shameful burden that you carry in your heart. And the moment I told her, I felt like something just came off of my shoulders. It wasn't even that the bill was taken care of. I didn't even knew exactly how I was going to settle that. I didn't know how much the jewelry would sell for. I didn't know where to sell the jewelry. But I just felt something came off of my heart. It was like these scales, these hardened scales coming off of my heart. And instantly my aunt was like, you know what? Let's figure this out. Like, okay, so tomorrow we're gonna go to the bank. I'm gonna call a friend. We're gonna negotiate with the bank and see how we can work this out. And none of what she told me, like none of the options that she told me, I had thought about in the past. And I was like thinking to myself, why did I hold this to myself this whole time? It made no sense to hold this secret. I was carrying this burden all to myself, and I had not told a single soul except my husband and my best friend. And the moment I told my aunt, she had all these different ideas and options and all the things that she was strategizing with me, and she was like, it's okay, we're all good, we're going to figure this out. It's actually not that much money. We're going to sort this out. All of a sudden, I felt so supported. So the thing number two that I learned from this lesson was that the moment I am willing to open myself and ask for help and drop the shame that I have, the criticism that I have for myself, the shame that I was putting on myself, like telling myself I'm not a good daughter. What would they think if I sold my mom's jewelry? And what it would mean about me as a person, me as a coach, me as a business owner, if I am running a business and it didn't work? What would it, like, I have no more face in front of my relatives. If I had to admit that this business, so-called business that I was running for the last couple of years, actually did not take shape in the way that I wanted, what would that mean? And I had to put all of that aside. So lesson number two was I learned to drop the shame. I learned to drop the shame of having accumulated debt, drop the shame of business not working, drop the shame of having failures, drop the shame of even thinking about selling my mom's jewelry to gather the cash to settle my credit card bills. So much shame. And I had decided to lay it all down in that moment. If it sounds like I'm going to cry, it's because I'm feeling really emotional. So allow me to take my time to share this with you, because it's a lot and it's very recent, and there's been a lot that I needed to process. So the third lesson that I learned from manifesting the $50,000 cash to settle my bill in 10 days was that I relinquished control of how the money was going to come to me. And I followed the path of least resistance. And this was actually the moment I learned and I experienced what it meant to follow the path of least resistance. I've heard so much about talking about the path of least resistance. And especially with manifestation, I've always thought that the path of least resistance was the most easy. Oh, was I wrong? I learned that the path of least resistance was the quickest, the most direct, and sometimes it could be the most abrasive path. But at the same time, it's also the most direct path to zap you in to the reality that you need to be. So at that moment, at the moment where I really didn't prefer to touch my mom's jewelry, like I just wanted to keep it at the safe. I didn't want to sell it. I didn't even want to look at it. I didn't want to sort it out and see which one I was going to keep and which ones I was going to sell and how much I could keep and which ones I liked and which ones I didn't like. I decided that I was going to drop all the conditions of how I I controlled how I wanted the money to come to me. Because in the past, because of my ego, because of my pride, because of all the expectations that I held for myself, all the supposed and shoulds, I told myself that money is supposed to be earned. And that is the only way that I was going to allow money to come to me. And if money come to me in any other way, if money came as a gift, if money came as a present, if money came from, just me seeing it and picking up on the ground, if money came from a tax refund, if money came from, all the different avenues that really didn't require a lot of effort, that it doesn't count. And I told myself that, and I was very convinced of that if money came with no effort, it meant that I really was not that good at manifesting money anyways. Like I was not that good at creating money. But as a matter of fact, now that I think about it, like in hindsight, as I'm looking back, I realize those are actually the best manifestors. Because if you think about it, the people who have to work the less, the people who have to work the least, the people who put in the least amount of effort and least amount of thinking and least amount of control and manipulation and force exerted into thing that manifested the most amount of money are actually the best manifestors, because they just learned to not have to do anything and just receive abundance into their life and reality, and it just continues to come into their window. So I learned, and this is principle number 3 that really helped me manifest these $50,000 cash fast, was that I dropped all conditioning. And guess what happened? I started manifesting gift money. My relatives started just my relatives just decided to take money out from the bank and then hand it to me. They've never done this before. Nobody has ever done it before. The last time someone gave me this amount of cash, or even probably less, was at my wedding. And I was pretty sure that this kind of situation, this kind of money gifting situation, was never going to happen again. And then it happened. The moment I decided to drop all conditioning of where the money has to come from, that it has to come from my business, that it has to come from my hard work, that it has to come from my planning, I decided to drop all of that. And the money came from the places where I least expected it. Even till this day, I have a hard time believing it. Like when I saw people just like handing me a stack of money, I was like, is this even real? I had a hard time believing it. So allow money to come to you through that different avenues that you could not even imagine. Don't confine yourself into saying money only has to come through this avenue and other places don't count, or it's going to be shameful for me if money comes to me in that way and it doesn't really count. It doesn't mean that I'm good at manifesting or anything. Like, don't give it a negative meaning. Just allow it to come, because you are just in the energy of pure abundance. So the next thing that I had to work through was self-judgment. If I manifested money in this way, does it mean that I'm not a good daughter? And all the judgment and criticism that came along with it. And you could experience the same thing in your life as well. Like, you could think to yourself, like, if I manifested money in this way, if I, let's say if I sold this product, doesn't mean that I'm taking money from people. If I told them, how good this program was, doesn't mean that I'm taking time from them, I'm stealing from them. And all these different meanings and associations that you have built in your mind in the past, because all the negative associations that you are putting on receiving money, it is actually the very thing that stops you from the money coming into your life. The moment you drop the shame and you drop the judgment, especially with self-criticism, because we can tend to be very hard on ourselves. I'm not gonna lie, like we're all very hard on ourselves, especially when we try to be better people. The guilt really gets to you. But the moment you can drop this self-criticism and you don't tell yourself that, because I did this one thing, that means I'm a bad person, or I'm a bad daughter, or I'm a bad spouse. Allow yourself to really align your intention with your goal and your heart. You're going to receive money a lot quicker. It's going to come to you a lot faster. So long story short, I basically went to several, I don't know, what are they called? Like these jewelry shops, these diamond like traders, jewelry traders. And I took the opportunity to actually look at this cluster of assets that I had. And it was a very good opportunity for me to just like have this connection moment with my mom, because I have never really taken the time to appreciate the jewelry she left for me, and for me to really hold it in my hand, to feel this level of abundance, to feel it in my hand, the textures, the sensations, and all of it. It allowed me to appreciate, like, they're not just things, they are abundance in my life. So I want to invite you to look at what are some of the abundance that you have in your life that you have not yet taken the opportunity to appreciate, that you have just probably like looked past because, yeah, like they've just kind of been lying there. It's been lying there. Maybe like this thing that I wanted to sell, or that thing that I wanted to let go of, or that thing that I could just, liquidate and turn into cash. But I had not really considered it because it was just sitting there. But the moment I held it in my hands, you guys, I felt like a level of abundance that I have never really experienced before. And I was reminded this very important lesson, that abundance is always around us, and that abundance is just a feeling. Even if I am in possession of all this beautiful jewelry, of all this asset, but if I can't appreciate it, and if I can't feel it, and if I don't see it, then the idea was never going to come to me, and the cash was never going to come to me, and I was never going to take the action to actually take out some of the jewelry and actually turn it into cash. I was never going to have that experience. But then the moment I actually held it in my hand, like, I know my late mom would be happy that I'm settling such a heavy burden, and that she would be happy to help me so many years, so many years after she's passed away. And she would be proud that I'm taking the step. That allowed me to really feel how close she was to me, even after so many years that she's gone. So, lesson number, I don't even remember. I'm not even counting anymore. Thank you so much. One of the last lessons that I wanted to share with you is allow yourself to open up for love and support, because this entire time, like throughout these months, as I was just paying the minimum amount of the bank of the credit due, I held it all to myself, like I told you. I held a secret, and it was starting to build, like this stress was starting to build up. And I had this feeling, this heavy feeling that I just could not tell anyone because they would not understand, and that all they would do is just judge me and, see how unsuccessful I am. And little did I know, the moment I opened myself up to my auntie, I felt more comfortable to open up to my cousin. And instantly, both of them, my auntie and my cousin, they're like, okay, you know what, let's get to it. We're going to sort this out. You don't have to worry about it. And they just loved on me with their action. They lined up in the bank with me. They lined up in the bank for me. They deposited money for me. The cash that I was holding, they held it safe. They kept it safe. They did the transfers for me. My cousin even came to the bank with me to become a co-signer so that if in case I wasn't in Hong Kong, that she could act upon my behalf. Like, I was just so overwhelmed with the level of love and support that came the moment I decided to be available for it. As opposed to before, sometimes when we feel like we have to do everything by ourselves and we have to figure everything out, we have to calculate everything by ourselves, and we're looking at our notebook, we're looking at our plan, and we're just like holding our head like, I don't know how I could figure this out. You're handling it all by yourself, and I understand that it can feel very isolating. So, the one of the last tips that I want to share with you about manifesting abundance is allow yourself to receive support. This is very important because you don't know and you don't have control over how the support was going to come. You cannot control what ideas people have, what they're going to suggest, how they're going to help you, how they're going to step up, how they're going to support you, how they're going to love on you, how they're going to emotionally be there for you. You don't know that. So allow yourself to open up to the people that you really trust so that you can, just come up with things together. And if not, just be in a place where you can just receive the love, because that is so nourishing to your soul. So the last and final thing that I wanted to share with you, and I think this is perhaps the most important, is that you need to hold your intention for long enough just for your reality to break, for your current reality to break. Whatever your current reality looks like, whatever you have been manifesting into your current life, it took a certain amount of energy and momentum and inertia to get there. It was the old thought forms, the old beliefs, the values that you have been living out and manifesting and pushing out into your reality that formed this physical movie that you are living now, that's called your life. And it could change very drastically in an instant when you're able to hold that intention for long enough, just with enough focus, that allows the energy to change in a very big angle so that you keep moving in the other direction, away from the energy of your current reality. And for me, that was the decision to settle my credit card bills and debts once and for all. Like, I literally just gave myself a certain time frame in Hong Kong to settle this. And so within that time frame, it was very focused energy, and I told everything to my aunt, I told everything to my cousin, and with the all three of us holding the intention together to make sure to settle this bill together, we made sure it happened, and we made sure that we saw it through, and we did everything we could. We were communicating, we were texting each other, we were calling each other, we were strategizing, we were asking the bank, we were talking to the bank, we were negotiating with the bank, we were getting proposals drafted. And in the end, guys, I'm not kidding you, after having called like 50 times back and forth with the bank, talking to the executive, I reduced the amount by at least, oh my gosh, how much is that? I reduced the amount at least by 30, 3,000 in US currency? Well, in my currency, it's 50,000. Okay, so about 15,000 US dollars. I reduced the total debt by 15,000 US dollars. Can you believe that? That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money just signed off by the bank, and they decided, you know what, you're written off, you don't have to pay this money anymore, you're free, right? I still had to pay the remaining 35,000, which, is still my responsibility. But the fact that all this engagement and interaction happened and this focus energy happened, like all three of us put our focus energy into the specific time frame, allowed my entire reality to shift 180 degrees within 10 days. Actually, like even just within 5 days, everything just happened very quickly. Everything started falling into place. I was able to sell my jewelry all in one place. Well, actually, no. I was able to sell, I sold it in several different places actually, because I had some gold and I had some like precious stones. And the gold I was able to sell at a gold store, which we were able to get a really good price for. And then there was also another deal that they gave us, which we were able to get even a better, like a better price for the amount of gold that I was selling. And then at the diamond store, I was also able to sell it at a really good price as well. So all of this took place just very smoothly. And on top of that, the bank reduced the final sum that I had to pay. And we were able to reach an agreement, and everything was able to be transferred to settle the bill, settle the sum. And I am living currently in a whole new reality where I can't even believe that I am able to share this with you today. Let me tell you guys, it can happen, and it can happen really fast. And it's not even about, you imagining and visualizing and doing all the practices and manifestations and techniques to think about it and to be in the reality of it and convince yourself to believe it. It's almost like when you know that you're going to do it and you set your heart on it, it doesn't matter how many or how little manifestation practices you do. You just allow yourself to align to that energy. You're already in the energy of having it done because you're already doing it. So just allow yourself to do it. Allow yourself to throw yourself into it, even though, yes, there are a lot of uncertainties in the way. You don't know exactly how it's going to be done. You don't know what people are going to think about you. You don't know what people are going to say. You don't know how people are going to respond to your requests for help. But when you want to receive, you must ask. You must ask. You must ask. So I hope that these principles and these lessons that I was able to extract from my personal experience, which happened just, well, it was really just settled last week because I came back last week. And it was not even settled until the moment I boarded the plane. Like it went through the moment I boarded the plane. And that really confirmed to me that our intentions and our focused attention towards our desires is what activates a whole new reality for us. And so this can open up a whole new reality for you too. If you are listening right now and you're someone that wants and needs to manifest a whole new reality for yourself, I want to tell you, I want to give you the encouragement that this can happen for you, and it can happen for you very quickly if you give just the right amount of attention and focus and energy and dedication to holding this intention so that your current reality can break and for your new reality to come through. So I hope that this helps you manifest financial abundance. I hope that it helps you manifest abundance in your heart, in your well-being, in your life. And I really hope that this message is able to wake up something inside of you such that it's able to help you move into a new reality. I love you so much. Thank you for those of you who have sent hearts. Thank you for being here, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.